Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Larry McIntosh, and I'll be your host for the next hour and every Saturday morning from 8 to 9. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you had an opportunity to see Peak of the Market's new Sesame Street potato bags. They are bright and colorful and feature some of your favorite Sesame Street characters: Elmo, Big Bird, Bert and Ernie, Grover, Oscar, and Abby. Along with the characters, you'll still see the Peak of the Market logo, so you know we're guaranteeing it's growing right here in Manitoba. We are so pleased to partner with Sesame Street on this Eat Brighter program. I also encourage you to drive by Peak of the Market at 1200 King Edward Street in Winnipeg to see some of the Sesame Street characters on the outside of our building. We put up this banner that's 150 feet tall by 18 feet at the highest part, but we've got people stopping by, getting photos with the Big Bird and Elmo, so stop by if you're in the neighborhood. It's not very often you see a Big Bird that's 18 feet tall. My guest this morning is Colleen Dyck from GORP Clean Energy Bars. Good morning, Colleen.
Good morning, Larry.
How you doing?
I'm doing excellent.
So I looked it up before this morning. You were on the show just over 2 years ago.
Was it that long?
Yeah, August of 2012. So
Wow.
At that time, let me refresh your memory. At that time, you and your husband were on the show, and we talked about GORP, amongst other things.
Yeah.
And I think you were selling your bars online and a store in Niverville and I think a couple other stores at that point in time.
Yes.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But tell us, what is the GORP bar? Tell us a little bit of the history of
The
that.
GORP bar, just a quick one.
Oh, we got an hour.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I developed it while I was training for triathlons a bunch of years ago. And what I found on the shelves, I just wasn't really appreciating some of the ingredients that were in there or the way that it sat in my stomach, more importantly. And so I just started doing research and came upon some ingredients I thought would work really well. And we're farmers, so of course I want to support Manitoba, and we use as many locally grown ingredients as we can as well. I took my idea to the Food Development Center, and we toyed around with it for years, trying to get our shelf life to work without adding preservatives and just trying to find the best way to make these things. And I was testing them with athletes, and I was giving them away at country fairs all over the place, and just getting feedback from the people, because that's the feedback that counts the most. And we got this thing put together, and we started kind of selling them officially 2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago. Well, just about that time, right?
Yeah.
So it's like for lack to describe it to people, is it like a granola bar?
It's like a granola bar. It's amped up a bit with our Manitoba-grown superstars. Like you're getting 2 teaspoons of raw hemp, a full teaspoon of ground flax, 11 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, full gram of omega-3 for that oxidation that happens after you exercise. It's good for your joints. But what I'm really surprised about, like I developed it with athletes in mind, and we've got the Winnipeg Jets using them still, which is, I'm always shocked when they place another order because it kind of feels surreal, and I'm just totally pumped about it. But what we found was, what was really important to people was the digestive part, and I didn't realize how important that was. And when I was sourcing out proteins, there's all kinds of different proteins you can pick from. And of course, the one that I liked the best was the most expensive, which is often a talent I have when I also walk into stores, which Grant doesn't appreciate all that much. But it's a sprouted brown rice protein, and it's hypoallergenic, doesn't cause bloating. And it's one of the funniest comments I get, because you get reporters asking the Jets what they like about the bars or whatever, and you hear these big burly guys saying, "Oh, it doesn't hurt my tummy." And it's like, well, that's excellent. I didn't think that was going to come out of your mouth, but it's excellent, and everyone seems to appreciate that. And this non-bloating effect or non-effect that the bar has turned out to be one of the things people are talking about the most. Didn't think that was what would be coming out of my mouth, talking about my bar won't bloat you. I would be thinking I'd be saying other things, but it's something people really appreciate. So I'm starting to kind of grab onto it with my marketing. And Shelley's my wife, for those that may not know that. She has them for lunch. And I don't think they're officially considered a meal replacement, but she finds them very filling, and that's kind of her lunch. Yeah, and I'm surprised people are using them that way. It was, like I said before, I was developing them for athletes, and then when I start talking to people, I'm finding out they're using them at coffee breaks so that they don't go to the vending machines. A lot of people are using them for meal replacements. And people in construction and people that are doing very physical jobs. And I think it's all that good fat. It's just, it's keeping people full. It's keeping them focused.
And it's got a lot of, you were saying it's got hemp in it, is that what you said?
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's got
hemp in it, which everybody's talking about how healthy that is.
Yeah.
You should get some kale in there. That's a super
the new
vegetable.
thing.
You
I
know,
know,
you've got to put that in there somewhere.
Kale pieces on top or something.
Everybody's talking about kale these days.
They are.
So there's lots of good ingredients then for you. And that was kind of your goal, is to stay away from preservatives and artificial things?
Yeah, and I'm not a bandwagon type of person. I read a lot, and I'm very much into nutrition, and I'm always kind of reading about the trends and what people are talking about. And I get really disenchanted a lot of the time because years ago they said you have to eat protein within 20 minutes of working out. Now they're saying that's antiquated. Bad science, bad whatever. It wasn't a really good study. Now they're saying you've got a 24-hour window. And then you have people saying many other things about the way we should be eating or not eating. And at the end of the day, and I'm not just saying this because you're Larry McIntosh, eat your vegetables, eat real food, eat good protein. If you're going to make, like, I designed this bar not to be something that I want you to hork down as many times a day as possible. It's meant to be something for you when you're in a rush, you're running from thing to thing, or you're expelling enough energy that you actually deserve an energy bar. It's not just for eating for the heck of it. So yeah, eat it as a meal replacement with a bag of veggies is what I always tell people.
Good advice.
And I know. With carrots and GORP, what could go wrong?
We'll be right back with Colleen Dyck from GORP Energy Bars after we take this break for your 680 CJOB weather update. Welcome back to Food and Friends. Food and Friends Radio is now on TV. Each radio show was filmed and will be posted on MyToba.ca tomorrow. So if you want to watch the TV version of this or previous radio shows, please visit MyToba.ca. Thanks to 680 CJOB's Nicole Bonnycamp, who produces our show, and Chad, who operates the camera, as well as the teachers of the Broadcasting and Media Arts program at TechVoc High School. You can also listen to an audio podcast of Food and Friends at SoundCloud.com or at the iTunes Store. So please just do a search for Food and Friends with Larry at MyToba.ca or SoundCloud.com or the iTunes Store, and all the shows will come up for your listening or viewing pleasure. It's very important for me to mention that Food and Friends is only available because of 680 CJOB and its advertisers. So please tune in to 680 CJOB or listen live at cjob.com. We're back with Colleen Dyck from GORP Clean Energy Bars. So we were talking off air about the bars and how far they've come in the last 2 years, just over 2 years that you were on the show. Mm-hmm. And as I said in the first segment, it was online. You had some sales, and I think 2 or 3 stores at the time. Mm-hmm. So how many stores are you now?
We're almost at 300.
300 stores.
Yes.
Congratulations.
So, actually, almost 4 now with a new contract we just got. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
So where would people find them? I know you can't name off 400 stores, but around in Manitoba, there's some chains or...
You know what? Surprisingly enough, and I never would have anticipated this at the beginning, Domo Gas got behind us in a big way. And they came down and said to me, we want to be known as the place to get GORP bars. And I was like, what? Really? And they took us in all 44 of their stations across to BC. And it was just excellent. And we recently got picked up by Federated Co-op. So if you look at the new co-op grocery stores going up around Winnipeg, you can find them there. Mm-hmm. And the mainstays, like Vita Health, was behind us right from day one. And so they've been so good for us, and they're an awesome local company. So I always love to give them a shout out. And Organza and a lot of the local. We're doing a test with Shoppers Drug Mart right now. So, and we're in 11 of their stores. So go harass Shoppers Drug Mart and ask for bars.
Or any place that doesn't have them, really.
Really, actually, yeah, anywhere you go.
Well, I think Shelley and I I know where Shelley and I get ours. We get ours from Nutritional Sciences on Portage Avenue or Vita Health if we happen to be that neighborhood. So I didn't realize Red River Co-op was going to get them in some other spots we go to. So that's great.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, 400 stores.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I remember the last time I was here, I was talking about this idea I had, and I couldn't quite talk about it, and it was top secret. And I am anticipating you were going to ask me about that today. And
you think I have that good a memory, do you?
I don't know. I think you probably have pretty good notes. And I was thinking, what am I going to say when Larry asked me about that? And because I can't talk about it yet because
2.5 years later?
I know.
How can it be top secret 2 years later?
I know. I really want to talk about it, but I'm like, I'm
All right,
learning about business.
Just between you and me.
Yeah. And apparently growth is expensive. And there's some type of exponential relationship between sales and cost of sales at certain points in your growth. And I'm getting a good business education, learning how to guide this thing. So I'm going to look at some crowdfunding and see if I can get some people behind us for this piece of equipment that we need to produce this next product.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens.
Well, we have to come back another time when it's not top secret.
Yes, I definitely will.
How many flavors of GORP bars are there?
We've got 3. I'm toying around with a ginger apple pecan one that should be coming out in a couple months, provided I can kind of get all the right things to happen in the lab, microbiology-wise. And I'm going to top it up with some more calories, so it's more of a meal replacement, and up the protein. So just to kind of provide a bit of an option for people who are using the bars more like a meal replacement, which tends to be happening. So
do you find from the business you have 3 flavors now? I assume one's the most popular?
Yeah, the cocoa, hemp, and almond definitely outsells the other 2 to 1.
Okay.
But I have to give a shout out to the peanut butter and apple flavor. It's the poorest selling flavor. And I threatened to discontinue at one time and got a lot of hate mail. The people that love peanut butter and apple are loud and proud and aggressive and very opinionated. And they're some of my favorite customers. I don't know what it is about that flavor, but it's got a very loud minority behind it.
See, and that would have been me at some time because I'm a huge peanut butter fan, but I developed a nut allergy several years ago now, so I couldn't have that. But that would have been probably my favorite.
Interesting.
Well, not particularly, but I just thought I'd throw that in there. So when you come up with a new flavor, which you're looking at now, will you discontinue one of the flavors, or you think you're going to have all 4?
No, I'm just gonna add it on to the family.
So in your development with the retailers and the people you're talking to, adding a 4th flavor or 4th SKU, as they would call it, is that going to be a problem for them? They're going to give you more shelf space, or? You
know what? Some of them definitely won't.
Yeah.
And I'd say 90% of them will.
Really?
Yeah.
So you must have a great relationship with them.
I do. That's one of the things. I've been lucky enough to have my customers be my best salespeople. So honestly, I haven't had to put a lot of effort into sales. But once I get a sale, I really like to try and maintain that it stays with me. So developing the good relationships, I'm all about relationship-based business. I can't remember if I said this last time or not, but that term, it's just business, I think is one of the biggest lies in marketplace culture, because there's always someone at the other end of the phone line, right?
Absolutely.
Or the other side of the keyboard. And I just can't disassociate that. And I've been criticized for various ways that I do business, or being too trusting or too open or too whatever. But I've found the relationships that I've been able to garner being who I am has been really valuable. And what I've sort of watched as I've grown just over this last 2.5 years is you have these ideals when you start out. I am going to never do this, and I'm never going to do that, and I'm never going to sacrifice this or that. And then you see, and like, how can other companies let that happen to themselves and lose themselves? And then you see in your growth, and the cash flows crunch is there, and there's all this pressure. And in big business, there's often bullies, and you can feel bullied to conform to a certain way of doing things. And for better or worse, I've just held on to my character with 2 hands, and I'm hanging on tight because I can see how it's easy for companies to lose their way.
We'll be right back with Colleen Dyck from GORP Energy Bars after this break. Welcome back to Food and Friends. It's time for our recipe segment called Now We're Cooking. You don't need to write this recipe down, as it's today's recipe of the day at peakmarket.com and in the Winnipeg Sun. Today's recipe is orange glazed acorn squash. Here's what you need for the recipe. 2 small acorn squash, halved lengthwise and seeded, half a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, 1/4 cup of maple syrup, half a cup of orange juice, 2 tablespoons of orange marmalade, and 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. Sprinkle the cut sides of squash with salt and pepper. Fill a large baking dish with 1 inch of water and place the squash cut sides up in the pan. Then brush 1 tablespoon of maple syrup over the top of the squash. Cover with foil and bake at 450 degrees for 25 minutes or until the squash is tender. Meanwhile, in a small saucepan, combine the remaining maple syrup, orange juice, marmalade, and lemon juice. Bring to a boil over medium heat and cook until the mixture is reduced to a thick syrup. Remove the squash from the baking dish and discard the water. Return the squash to the pan and cut sides up. Brush the squash with syrup mixture and bake for 15 minutes or longer until the syrup is slightly reduced and squash is a light brown around the edges. And this recipe serves 4. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Food and Friends. If you're involved in a school or daycare fundraiser in any way, I hope you're registered for the Farm to School Manitoba fundraiser. This fundraiser is open to all Manitoba schools and licensed daycares anywhere in Manitoba. Basically, the fundraiser works like this. The students sell bundles of Manitoba-grown vegetables to raise money for their school or daycare. Bundle A has carrots, cooking onions, and red potatoes and sells for $10. Bundle B has larger packs of carrots, red potatoes, and cooking onions, as well as green cabbage and parsnips, and it sells for $20. Each bundle comes with a reusable shopping bag that's great when you go out grocery shopping. The outstanding thing about this fundraiser is that the school or daycare keeps half the selling price. So $5 out of the $10 kit or $10 out of the $20 kit. A 50% profit, which is a great fundraiser. Last year, this fundraiser raised over $400,000 for Manitoba schools and daycares, and that's what they kept, $400,000. This year, so far, we've had 146 schools already delivered and 333 schools registered to participate, and already the schools and daycares have kept $186,000. And this fundraiser runs until December 12th, and again, it's open to any school or daycare anywhere in the province of Manitoba. It doesn't matter where you are, we will bring it by truck, we'll bring it by train, or we'll fly it into your community. If you're interested in getting more information on the Farm to School fundraiser or to register your school or daycare, please visit their website at farmtoschoolmanitoba.ca, or there's a link from peakmarket.com. We're back with Colleen Dyck from GORP Clean Energy Bars. So, 400 stores across the province. Well, actually, you're not just across the province. You're across Canada, aren't you?
Now we are, yes.
I think I saw on your website you're in Nova Scotia and the Yukon.
Yep, Mountain Equipment Co-op picked us up and brought us coast to coast, and then other stores just seemed to kind of follow.
So, your background. We talked a little bit in the last half hour how you got involved, but let's go back further. What were you born in Manitoba?
No, I was born in Ontario.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Ottawa Valley.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when you moved to Manitoba at some point?
Yes. I grew up in Toronto, kind of around the Mississauga area till I was just at the end of elementary school. And then my parents decided to come home. And both of their parents were farmers in the area. And we moved to Niverville. And I swore when we moved there, I am not going to marry a Mennonite and I am not going to marry a farmer. And you can deduct by my last name that I did. And I did both. I married a Mennonite farmer, and I'm so glad I did. I fell in love with the area and the people. And there's things I miss about growing up in Toronto, but you can find anything you want in Manitoba, really. You just have to look.
And as you know, I grew up in Toronto, too.
Oh,
and
I didn't know that.
It's a fantastic place to visit.
Yes.
But Manitoba's home for me. And
yeah, I agree.
When I sit on the 401 in Toronto my mom lives just outside of Toronto, about 45 minutes from the airport, which, you go to the airport, fly there, see her.
Yeah.
45 minutes to the airport on a good day. Or if someone gets a flat tire, there's an accident, it's 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
So how do you allow to go to the airport? Here, we're 15 minutes to the airport. If we hit traffic, 20. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's big advantages to it.
I know. I feel like this is obviously my home, too. I love Manitoba. I love our rural Manitoba. And I'm just really passionate about keeping business there. And I get asked a lot, when are you going to move to the city? Or when are you going to move to Calgary? Or somewhere else that isn't where you are? And never. I can honestly say we're looking at the old shop on the farmyard and planning on making renovations for when we have to move out of our current plant, which is very small. It's still on the farmyard, but it's going to be time to expand soon. And I want to stay rural. And I design my shifts around the bus schedule so moms can come work and not have to go to put their kids in pre-work daycare and after-school daycare. And they can come and be home by the time their kids get off the bus. And I've got some happy workers, and it's excellent. And they're the people that I see at the grocery store, They're the people that I bank with. They're the people that I see day to day at hockey and ringette and whatever I'm involved with. And I like it. That's what I love.
So from a business point of view, I mean, Niverville's not too far from the major city being Winnipeg, so it's rural, but close to a major market.
Yes.
But you're not the same kind of major market as if you're in Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver or Calgary or some of the other cities. There's pros and cons to that. Have you looked at that?
Well, definitely. But as I'm sure you know about Manitobans and Winnipeggers, they're a tough market. And they're picky in a good way. And they want something that's quality. And they're not willing to compromise on what they want. And if they don't like something, they'll move on. They won't just take anyone's word for it when they're buying something. They'll search it out. They'll research it out. But then when they buy in, it's the best customer you could ever hope to have. And they're loyal and they're loud and they tell people. And I feel really confident that I've been able to have the amount of success I've had in this province, in this city. It makes me feel good because I know Manitobans aren't easy to sway over.
I would say, generally speaking, people like to support local, but I would say it's even more so in the prairies. Certainly Manitoba and Saskatchewan will use those, or the Maritimes, I'm sure. Because when you get into larger towns, there's so many larger cities, there's so many things going on, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard to say, I want to support Manitoba vegetables because they just go to their store, we're busy. Here we tend to really like local stories, local success stories, want to support local businesses. I almost think it's an advantage.
Yeah, you know what? I would totally agree. And you're making how do I word this? In Manitoba, you've got people that will catch up with you over and over and over again, like yourself with me. It's not just always moving on to the next new thing, the next new thing, the next new thing. We are invested in our stories. And I find that the people really want to see local business succeed. They really do. And I can tell by the amount of emails I get of people checking up on me, customers sending me details of how they've approached how many stores for me. And I don't know if that would happen in a big city. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't.
And I would hesitate to say if you didn't have a good product, it wouldn't happen either.
Well, fair enough. I appreciate that.
Because if they want to support local, but they are not going to support local if the quality or the taste or whatever it is, service, whatever the business is not there, they're going to go on to somebody else. There's no question about it.
True enough.
That's my opinion. I'm hoping that's why people buy our vegetables, because they like the quality and they support local at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think? You think it's true?
I think it's true.
So you've got a lot on the go. You got some secret project you mentioned last half hour that you're not going to tell us about, but we'll come back to another time. Launching another flavor potentially in the next 6 months, you think?
Yep,
really?
For sure.
How long is the shelf life for a GORP bar? Like how long will it sit on?
225 days,
oh,
7.5 months.
Okay.
So I'm happy with that. I don't want to push it. We're happy to do just-in-time inventory where we're just constantly making fresh product. They're better fresh. They're not preserved in any way that's artificial. So they're natural products. They will degrade over time. So we are just trying to keep them as fresh as possible for people. We always say if you're going to buy in bulk, which a lot of people are starting to do these days, because they're incorporating them into their life so much. It's almost like a daily or a couple times a week at least thing that they're indulging in. I say throw them in the freezer, throw them in the fridge. They freeze wonderfully.
Okay.
And yeah, because a lot of people are starting to ask about bulk.
We'll be right back with Colleen Dyck from GORP Energy Bars right after we take this break. Welcome back to Food and Friends. Peak of the Market has a new mobile recipe app that works on your smartphone or iPad. It's available free through the Apple, Android, or BlackBerry World app stores or via peakmarket.com. For every person who downloads the free Peak Recipes app by October 31st, Peak of the Market growers will donate 20 pounds of fresh vegetables to the Winnipeg Harvest Food Bank. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, all you have to do is go to any of those websites or stores and search for Peak Recipes. And here's a few of the features on our app. Over 4,000 recipes at your fingertips. After you've downloaded the original app, there's no internet connection required. It's all right in there. It doesn't take a lot of space on your phone. You can do recipe searches using any combination of keywords like potatoes or beef or chicken or ingredients or meal types. Measurements are all in both metric or in imperial. You can add recipes to a shopping list and check off the items as you shop. You can add notes to recipes like Larry's favorite. You can add extra items that you want to add to your shopping list. You can resize the font for the directions for easier reading. And there's absolutely no in-app advertising. There's no ads in there. It's just strictly recipes. We're very excited about our new mobile app. So please download it. Give it a try. If you don't like it, you can delete it. At the same time, when you do download it, we'll be donating to Winnipeg Harvest. And there's less than a week left. So please help us, those less fortunate, by downloading the free recipe app in the next week. It'll still be available after that. But if you do it this week, we'll send 20 pounds to Winnipeg Harvest. We're back with Colleen Dyck from GORP Clean Energy Bars. So after my stumbling over our free recipe app, as a small business, and you consider yourself a small business still?
Definitely small.
Do you find it hard to do things like sponsorships or do donations or be involved in the community? What's your whole philosophy in that area?
You know what? Lucky for all the people that ask, I have a hard time saying no, like I said before, because everything is such a good cause. And I know strategically I'm going to have to start narrowing things down. But I do definitely have a strategic plan, and then there's just giving. And I separate those two things. Mm-hmm. So strategy-wise, you're always looking at athletes and stuff like that. And there's some really neat athletes that we sponsor that are definitely like headed for Kona to do World Triathlon Championships and stuff like that. And but there's also the guy that's just working out in his backyard, and we love to sponsor young kids too that are just trying to make the team. And we'll say, hey, yeah, we're just going to send you a couple free boxes of bars every couple months, and you just give her and you just train. And it embodies the philosophy that helped me design one of our logos, and that's the tractor with wings. And you can kind of see it showing up on some of our marketing and on our website. And the tractor is based on an actual tractor, a Massey Ferguson, that I spent a lot of hours on when I worked on the farm during college. And I went everywhere with that little tractor, and it was dependable, and it never broke down, and it could go places the big tractors couldn't. And I just had such an attachment to that thing. And so when I brought it up to my marketing company that I really want this tractor with wings to show up, I kind of got dissuaded and told that it wasn't very professional and it was weird. And I just kind of stuck to
They said it was weird, really?
They said it was weird. And I thought, this is the little tractor that could.
Are you still using that company? Or?
Well, no.
Keep going, sorry.
No, actually. But this is how I feel about my customers and the philosophy behind our company. I want to be one of inspiration. And I get really sick of seeing how our culture and media are telling us in a lot of visual ways that you have to look a certain way to engage in certain activities, or you have to be a certain talent. You have to measure up talent-wise in order to participate in certain activities. And I just want to kibosh that and just encourage people to get outside, have their adventures. They don't have to be the best. They don't have to look the best. You just have to get out there and do it. And that's what that little tractor means to me. So sponsorship-wise, sure, we've got some excellent athletes and a couple of girls from the National Canadian Women's Volleyball team eat the bars regularly. We're now talking to the team about a team sponsorship, and that's really exciting to me. We've got some world-class curling teams that use the bars, and that's all great, and I love that. But the stories I love the most is hearing from the cross-country skier who's 16 that just hit the podium for the first time, and he emails me a picture of him with his GORP bar. And honestly, that makes my day just as much. And it's in line with what we're trying to inspire in community. And it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard to stick to that sometimes. But it's the passion that keeps me waking up every day and doing this. And it's hearing from my customers that my product's making a difference. I wouldn't get up every day and do it and make the sacrifices that I have to make with work-family balance and that type of thing if I didn't feel like this was important.
And you have kids, right?
4 little kids, yeah.
But you get up early in the morning.
I do.
To bring it to CJOB.
Exactly. It's exactly what I do. They're all here.
in the other room.
Of course.
Saying, Moms keeps talking.
Yeah, wrap it up.
So if you had to say what's your biggest challenges, being a business that's 2.5 years old, whatever it is, what would you say your biggest challenges?
Wow. My biggest challenge, honestly, and I don't know why this is, it's charging the proper amount for my product that it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
And
you feel guilty? Or?
Yeah, I do. I've lived here long enough. I want a deal. Where's my coupon? But I know what it's worth because I know the amounts of the ingredients that I'm putting in. I'm not just sprinkling in the flax, and I'm not just sprinkling in the hemp so that I can put it on my label. It's a full teaspoon and 2 full teaspoons like I was talking about before. And it's the highest quality protein that I could get my hands on. And they're all hand rolled at this point because the rolling machine's too expensive for me to buy, and the extruding machine that I can't afford smashes it into pieces, and I'm not willing to make that concession because the bite and the mouthfeel is something people love. And so, yeah, it costs a certain amount to produce this bar, and it's a little bit more expensive than the other bars on the market, and my customers would tell me this, but for some reason in my own heart, I'm like, how do I make it cheaper? How do I make it cheaper? And I think that's my biggest challenge is letting myself be worth and the product be worth what it's worth.
We'll be right back with Colleen Dyck from GORP Energy Bars after this break. Welcome back to Food and Friends. Please join me next Saturday when my guest will be Anders from Anders Magic. If you haven't seen Anders perform, you should. He's very good and very funny. My guest today has been Colleen Dyck from GORP Clean Energy Bars. It's been a lot of fun. You're available at 400 stores across Canada. Website is?
www.gorpworld.com.
Thanks for being on Food and Friends.
Thank you very much, Larry.
Thanks to Nicole Bunnykamp, our show's producer, and Chad, our camera guy. Take care, and please, don't forget to eat your veggies.